Stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to call this meeting of the Town of Plattsburgh Town Board to order for June 2nd, 2014. Roll call, please.
Bernie Bassett.
Here.
Thomas Wood.
Here.
Martin Manick.
Here.
Michael Cash.
Here.
Gerard Lindsay.
Here.
James Coffey.
Here.
And Rick Collins.
Resolution 188, approving the minutes of the previous meeting.
Resolved that the minutes of May 19, 2014 be approved and the reading of the minutes be dispensed with.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Manick, second.
Second.
Mr. Wood, any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Martin Manick.
Yes.
Michael Cash.
Yes.
Gerard Lindsay.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, the resolution carries. We're a little bit premature for the public hearings. I'm going to set that aside for one more resolution. Resolution 189, abstract 6A.
Resolved that the abstract of audit claims number 6A-14, 932 to 1006 for $152,420.41, and abstract 6A-14, 196 to 213 prepays in the amount of $118,262.41 be received as reviewed by the audit committee and supervisors hereby authorized to pay said.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Cashman, second.
Second.
Mr. Renedick, any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Martin Manick.
Yes.
Michael Cash.
Yes.
Gerard Renedick.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 190, Building Maintenance and Safety Committee Monthly Report.
Resolved to receive and place on file a report from Art Rowe, Building Maintenance Supervisor for the month of May 2014.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Wood, second.
Second.
Mr. Mannix, any discussion?
It's good that the safety committee had no incidents this month. That's nice to see.
Yes, thank you for noting that. In any organization, especially where you have a lot of physical activity, construction, road work, etc., no incidents, no accidents. That's good.
Just one thing I wanted to mention on this. One of the questions I had on the vouchers that we audited was some fireproof clothing that was rather expensive. That happened to be working last night when I came into audit those, and he explained to me what that is that safety equipment for the lighting crew. It's made to sustain an electrical flash, so that's I guess it's an OSHA requirement. I'm not sure of that. So we are making sure that we have all of the proper that crew.
And they continue to work to put in the disconnects, the poles. They're making really very good progress with that. That's an ongoing activity. One of the things they're pleased to be able to start early in the morning before traffic picks up. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Martin Manick.
Yes.
Michael Cash.
Yes.
Gerard Renedick.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Okay, at this time I would like to open the public hearing. This is a public hearing concerning the fee schedule for planning and board review of certain projects. Notice had been given that this would take place at 7:05. First of all, I'd like a motion to open the hearing.
So moved.
Mr. Cashman, a second.
Second.
Mr. Wood, could I get a roll call vote on that?
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Martin Manick.
Yes.
Michael Cash.
Yes.
Gerard Renedick.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, we'll open the public hearing. I have one letter to place in the file. If you could pass that down to Ricky for the record. Does anyone else?
Is that from Nancy?
Yes. Does anyone else have any written comments they'd like to submit, first of all? And is there anyone that would like to make comment? If not, I'm going to keep the hearing open.
Yes, I would.
Okay?
Okay, my name is Tom Metz. For the record, I live at 238 Champlain Drive in Plattsburgh, town of Plattsburgh. I have three items that I would like to surface to your attention. Having looked at the fee schedule that is being proposed, I feel that the jump is excessive, especially when we're going from 0 to 200, 300, whatever it is. It would seem that we should start at a lower level, especially if you're bringing it in from 0, and work up. Okay, number 2 is a concern that a fee structure like this may impact smaller developers more than a big project. If you're trying to build a house, $5,000 more of fees is a number that you got to deal with. If you're a $1 million project building somewhere, $5,000 or $10,000 is just petty cash. And they can quite easily do that. The small guys who are part of our community, who are hiring local, who are working to develop and build our town, we shouldn't run them out of business. Okay. Third item, as I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong here, that presently the costs associated with doing all of this work in the planning and zoning departments is being paid from our general fund, from the current money in the budget. Okay, now, the idea of having a user fee to cover some or all of that, I'm okay with that. But if we're going to increase the fees and bring in, I saw one figure that was $8,000 some dollars, so let's say $8,000. If we bring in $8,000 into planning from these fees, and the users are doing this, that's fine. Do we plan to cut $8,000 out of the planning budget, planning support from the general fund, so that it's revenue neutral? And if that $8,000 is coming out, if it's not coming and it's not being used from the general fund to cover these expenses and costs, then I, as a taxpayer, would like to request that we reduce the tax levy for the whole town by that $8,000. We're no longer paying that portion. It's being paid by the users themselves, which is fair. Is that, any questions?
Pretty explicit, right? It's pretty explicit.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else?
I'm Bill Brudvig, I live on Independence Drive in Plattsburgh. I too am against raising the fees. I think it's really anti-growth. I think it's too costly for developers. And most importantly, I think it could push development to other local municipalities. I think the current fees are in line, by your own chart. We're in line with Queensbury. We're more than Peru, but you want to more than double us. You know, Tom mentioned the 8,000, and that's what we collected this past year. With the new regulations, that would go up to 20,000, so it's an increase of 12,000. But when you compared it to Queensbury, they compared 8,000 just about like that. So, you know, I think we are where we're supposed to be. Tom said it can hurt the small developers. Well, I can attest to that. You know, it is expensive, and we don't only pay the fees. We have the recreation fees. I spent over $1,000 in inspection fees. So, you know, altogether, it's just too costly, and I think, you know, it's too much. You know, I wonder, Tom says, where does money go? And I wonder myself, later tonight, there's a proposition to make for a new sign at May Courier. I've looked at the sign, all it needs is new paint. You know, I don't think you need to go to the expense of buying a new sign from a carrier and then probably throughout the town for all the parks. You know, if it comes on the backs of fees like this, I think, again, you know, it goes back, I think you've got to watch your expenses, you know, and not just look to more revenue to support your spending habits. You know, I'm concerned, you know, I read Mr. Coffey's, well, I tried to read your paper on towns should be profitable, but that really sparked my interest. I looked for it online, I couldn't get it, but that scares me. If your mentality is for towns to be profitable, to make profit, you know, say on developers, I think that's wrong. I think what you should do, you know, you should build the tax base is what we need to do, you know, so we have a larger tax base, so we get a higher share of the sales tax revenue. So again, I plead to you to, you know, do not raise the fees.
Just on the article you mentioned, were you able to find a copy or not?
No, I can't. You have to be a member to have that.
Okay, well, I'm signing these.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no.
I like to talk to you.
No, I'll send one to you. The point is that you can't be insolvent.
Right.
But you can be solvent.
If you're insolvent, then you go the route of Detroit. You cannot do that. So, and I think you can make a wonderful argument whether the fee should be here or there. Say, for example, at the planning department, if it costs to run the planning department $200,000, and we're collecting 20, the 180 has to go on the property tax. So it's that type of choice. It's sort of like saying, people say, I'd like a bridge that's toll-free. I would like a bridge that's toll-free, but there, you know, as the conservatives say, and there is no free way.
Well, it's interesting because your own article, the title of it is, must be profitable.
Well,
Profitable is not solvency, that's covering your costs. Profit is revenue above expenses, and that's a scary thought.
Well, if you read the article,
To charge more than what it costs, that's
if
profitability.
you read the article, I don't think you will be scared. So.
All right, well, thank you.
Okay.
Anyone else have comments they'd like to make? Given that we're into the meeting to some amount, and I doubt anyone else will come, I would ask for a motion to close this hearing.
So make a motion.
Mr. Renner, do we have a second on that motion?
I'll second it.
Mr. Mannix, any discussion? Get a
Yes,
roll.
I'd like to
Yes.
offer the comment. Over the course of the time that I've been on the board, we get caught in a catch-22 on issues such as this. You know, they range all the way from, you know, we should operate in such a fashion that, developers should not look for the taxpayers to pay the developers' costs. The developers want the taxpayers to bear, you know, the cost that they're bringing quality of life to the community with their developments, and that's something that taxpayers should bear share a cost in. What we try to find is a balance in these issues, and that's really what this is trying to do. Very often, what happens with these fees is we pass an ordinance or a regulation to reset the fees, and then time goes on, and unfortunately, they're not adjusted with the frequency that they should be adjusted. The adjustments would be incremental in nature. And so then when you do adjust them, they seem to be larger than what you might think is called. But the reality is, if you look at the length of time that's passed since the last time fees were adjusted, you look at what's happened with costs, they're not out of order with what's necessary. We have to find a way to meet our expenses, and we have to do that without laying it completely on the backs of developers, but we can't lay it on the back of our taxpayers either. We have to find a balance between the two, and I think that's what, and I can tell you, I know that there was a substantial amount of time that went into the development of this. I would say that there was better than 2.5 years spent putting together this restated set of fees.
To
Because
me, it
it's
looked
not,
pretty arbitrary, just double everything. It looked like without thought. Well, just
well,
make
I'm glad
everything
you
a
think it
double.
was that way, because it's probably very easy to articulate it that way. You feel good articulating it that way. I just told you, it took 2.5 years for people to do that because they were very concerned with what they were doing. And they did not do it in a pell-mell fashion. So that's my statement. Thank you.
Okay?
Were any of the people involved in that development?
I don't think we're into a dialogue here or back and forth. I asked for an opportunity to make a statement. I made my statement, okay? I didn't interrupt you when you made your statement.
Get a roll call to close the hearing.
Thomas, what?
I think, in terms of the fees and stuff, we're in a bind because we have a cap. We're not allowed to raise the taxes this way. We can't raise it a fair way through income. In order to keep our programs, to keep the people working, and to keep the staff, we might have to go to some fees to help balance that out. And it is a reasonable amount if you look at how many years it's been and what the fees were then. And I think that's one of the binds that we get in with what our state government puts us in, and the fact that they also give us more mandates to pay for, which takes more money that we don't have unless we go to fees or go over the tax cap, which people have really told us they didn't want to do. So that's my comment, and if the vote's going on, I'll say yes.
Thank you.
Martin Manick,
Yes.
Michael Cashman,
Yes.
Gerard Bernadette,
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, we will close the hearing at 7:19. Resolution 191, Parkland Deposits Transfer of Funds.
Whereas Recreation and Youth Services Director Melanie DeFayette has identified that the Parkland Park Deposit is no longer applicable. Whereas the two Cliff Haven Parkland deposits that can be consolidated into one Parkland deposit. Now therefore be resolved that the town board does hereby authorize the supervisor to transfer the funds from Parkland deposit in the amount of $1,179.94 plus accrued interest into the Cliff Haven Parkland deposit account of T.000.3402.00. And it be further resolved that the town board, town of Plattsburgh, does hereby authorize the supervisor to transfer funds from the Cliff Haven Parkland deposit account T.000.3702.0001 to the Cliff Haven Parkland deposit account T.000.3702.0000 in the amount of $8,034.79 plus accrued interest to date. And it be further resolved that a certified copy of this resolution be given to the finance manager and the youth and recreational director.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Renadette, second.
Second.
Mr. Mannix, any discussion?
This is from their
Yes.
department.
And there was just a misread on the account number in the first resolved,
Yeah,
just
that's
to
all. Okay.
note that, that's all. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Martin Manick,
Yes.
Michael Cashman.
Yes.
Gerard Bernadette.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 192, Main Career Park Recreation Sign Improvements.
Whereas Recreation and Youth Service Director Melanie DeFayette has identified the need to replace the entrance sign of the May Career Recreation Park. Whereas funds available in the May Career Recreational Park Parkland Deposit Maintenance and Trust Account, funds to cover the replacement cost of the sign. Now therefore be resolved that the town board does hereby authorize the supervisor to transfer funds from the trust and agency fund account T.0000.3705.000 May Courier Parkland Trust Deposit to the general fund of A.0000.0200.0000 general fund cash account in the amount of $2,160 to be used to purchase a new sign for the May Courier Park. And it be further resolved that a copy of this resolution be given to the Recreation and Youth Service Director and to the Finance Manager.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Cashman, second.
Second?
Mr. Mannix, any discussion?
I want to make a couple of statements. One actually connects with Mr. Rudrick's comments earlier about the sign. I appreciate those comments because one of the things that I was a bit concerned about is operationally, how are we going to pay for the sign? If it wasn't identified out of the park structure to pull some of those funds, I certainly wouldn't have been in support of this. The other portion to it is there's been a lot of projects that are going on out and about the town right now. We're having a meeting later on this week out in Cliff Haven to talk about a dog park, actually. Again, in the same sentiment, to have some conversations about how do we utilize these funds that are there for some specialized projects without burdening the taxpayer and our residents from the general fund. But I will note, though, that a conversation, or the piece that you put out there about as we move forward with the fee structures, we do need to rethink some of these fees that may become burdensome if we're going to be increasing other fees. So restructuring part of that is duly noted, but I'm certainly in support of seeing this new sign because the funds are there, that's what they're meant for. But I think we should be attentive to reimagining things as we move forward to not put too much burden on participants, in the industry. That's it.
Okay, any other discussion?
Just point out that the sign structure is somewhat deteriorated and it needs to be replaced. And that's one of the reasons why we wouldn't just paint it.
Yeah, and I mean, this isn't I agree with you, Tom, this isn't the resolution to decide to actually put a sign there, but I think we all know one of the best things we can do to keep the cost of services down is to build the base that shares in that cost, and that is economic growth development, that's attracting new businesses, it's creating the community that people want to live in, they want to build a home in, that again continues to build the base. Running the town as a service organization, I've said that many times, but part of it, and we've often talked about running it like a business, reflects a little in Jim's article as we struggle with how do you run a municipality like a business, what are the commonalities, what are the contradictions. We have to invest in this municipality. And bridge analogies are great, especially with what happened at Crown Point. At the point when that bridge was first built, had someone required a $5 fee for every car that crossed the bridge, there would have been an uproar. But at the end of its lifespan, there would have also been a fund to prevent the uproar, that we don't have a bridge, and spent significant amounts of money, a huge impact on business to have to circumvent that crossing. What are the things we invest in? And infrastructure is fairly easy, even though it's sometimes hard to see because it's buried. We assume the water comes out of the faucet, and when we put it in the drain, it goes away somewhere, et cetera, et cetera. We know we have to invest in that, but what about investing in the community, making it a community that business wants to invest, families want to live? We often talk about curb appeal. This is part of why we have one of the first in the area, municipalities, to have a very strict set of codes and zoning regulations that made things change in this particular municipality. We have to invest in this business in other ways, and I think creating the community, and we've had the Complete Streets Group and others talking about programs, creating the community that when people enter it, they like what they see. And the signs that we've been adopting through the community were a huge upgrade. And if you go into progressive communities, you will see the sign of that by the appearance of the properties, but how the municipality markets its sign. And if we can keep that, and keep that image of our position in the Adirondack coast with that beautiful medallion, we need to do exactly that. And it's always an investment, and somebody's always got to decide what the best investment is, and that's, the job of the 5 people that sit here. It does have an impact. It does add value, and eventually, I think it does equate to the kind of growth that we want to attract. So it's simple and it's complex. And comments about the time to look at fees, it's been a lengthy amount of time, including creating spreadsheets of other comparable communities. I guess the excess depends on who's impacted. We changed dog licensing fees. Absolutely nobody who had a dog complained. There were no impacts. Anyway, I think those kinds of things are important. We have to invest in the things we see, as well as the infrastructure we expect and don't always are able to see it in our day-to-day activities. Does anyone else have anything on this resolution? Can we get a roll call, please?
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Martin Manick,
Yes.
Michael
Yes.
Patterson,
Yes.
Gerard Renzo.
Yes.
Bernie Bass.
Yes, resolution carried. Resolution 193, purchase of a new town sign for mid-career recreational park.
Excuse me. Whereas the town of Plattsburgh Town Board is interested in promoting the community with signage that positively reflects the community in the region. Whereas it is important to have a uniformity of town signs throughout the town of Plattsburgh. Whereas the supervisor, councilors, Park and Recreation Department have reviewed various proposals and design and agree that the standardization will promote efficiency, save money throughout the purchase of the signs and through the repair and parts and material common to all signs. And now therefore, Casey
Got a couple more
Ryder,
whereas.
Casey Ryder's Artworks, 15 Pine Brook Drive, Morrisonville, New York, 12962, has provided the standard for towns welcoming signs in the past. And whereas the sign for May Career Recreational Park is in need of replacement, and the department and the town board would like to continue the town sign standard. Now therefore be resolved, the town supervisor, on behalf of the town board, enter into an agreement with the Artworks to provide the sign for May Career Park as per attached spec. And it be further resolved that a copy of this resolution be given to the finance manager, Park and Recreation Director, and Ms. Ryder.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Cashman, second.
Second.
Mr. Renadette, any discussion?
Just one other thing I'd like to add, that this replacement of this sign was not something that was a whim of the town board. This was something that was recommended by our department heads, the building and grounds and such. I've never known Art to take something that he couldn't repair and not repair it. This was a replace item, and again, like Michael pointed out, the money is there in the account for this type of improvement, and I think this is money well spent. This is one of our most busily used and visited parks. We serve a lot of members of the community there, and to basically try to throw a coat of paint on something to make it last another year or two, I think would be a waste. So that's why I'm in favor of this.
Any other discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Martin Manick,
Yes.
Michael Patterson.
Yes.
Gerard Renzo.
Yes.
Bernie Bass.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 194, installation and energizing of streetlights on Wildflower Lane.
Whereas the safety of town residents and others who walk and drive on town's road is a priority of the town board. Whereas Art Bro, Director of Building and Grounds, has received a request that the town of Plattsburgh provide additional street light on Wildflower Lane to complete the street lighting of the streets and improve visibility and safety. Whereas a petition has been received from the residents requesting the completion of a street light on the road to make walking and traveling in the area a safer experience. And whereas Mr. Bro has indicated that the material are in stock and he is able to make the installation with minimal expense. Therefore be resolved that the town board, on behalf of the town of Plattsburgh, does hereby authorize the installation and activation of up to 3 new streetlights on the western end of Wildflower Lane. And it be further resolved that a copy of this resolution be given to the budget officer and the grounds and building department.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Mannix, second.
Second.
Mr. Renadette, any discussion?
Yeah, I think every time we do these, we're adding to the carbon footprint. I don't agree with that. We're not using renewable, and I don't really see in this particular area where it's not heavily traffic, we're not on Route 3, we're not on Route 9, that we need extra light.
Any other discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
No.
Mark Manick,
Yes.
Michael Cashman.
Given in light of Mr. Wood's comments, no.
Jared Renadette.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
My only concern is because I live in that area and would benefit from this. Counselor, is there a reason I should abstain?
I suppose there might be,
Then I will abstain. We have a tie vote. The resolution doesn't pass. Resolution 195, appointment of Kyle Karofsky as a laborer in the Water and Wastewater Department.
Whereas there is vacancy in the Water and Wastewater Department for a position of labor. Whereas Kyle Porosky has worked in the Water and Wastewater Department on a permanent and temporary basis since January 2012. Whereas as a result of the December 2013 reduction in workforce, filling this position is governed by Article 10 of the Teamsters Negotiation Agreement, requiring that Kyle Porosky, a laid-off employee, as the person to fill the labor position vacancy. Therefore be resolved that the town board, town of Plattsburgh, does hereby authorize the hiring and appointment of Kyle Porosky to the position of labor at a pay rate as established by the negotiated agreement and the MOU of $15.40 per hour, effective on his first full pay period following approval and in accordance with the terms and conditions of the Teamster agreement, currently in force pending civil service approval. And it be further resolved that the supervisor is hereby authorized to sign any and all necessary documents for the full-time appointment of Kyle Porosky to the position of labor. And it be further resolved that a certified copy of this resolution be given to the finance manager, water and wastewater department director, and a certified copy also be forwarded to Clinton County Department of Personnel for final approval and filing.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Renadette, second.
Second.
Mr. Wood, any discussion?
This is in line with the rules for bringing people back that we've laid off, correct?
Correct.
I was delighted to see Kyle able to come back to work. He was a valuable young man in the department, and it was unfortunate that he had to be laid off at a time when his family was going through some sadness, and it's good to see him back. And I know the workforce is happy to have him back.
Any other discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood?
Yes.
Martin Manick?
Yes.
Michael Cash?
Yes.
Gerard Renadette?
Yes.
Bernie Bassett?
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 196, temporary seasonal hire for lifeguards in the Recreation Department.
Whereas the supervisor has received a letter dated May 22nd, 2014 from Melody Defiant, Youth Service and Recreation Director, requesting to hire summer lifeguards. Whereas all employment verification and eligibility has been satisfied, and the Youth Service Recreation Director recommends that the attached list of candidates be appointed to said position. Now therefore be resolved, the supervisor is hereby authorized to sign any and all necessary documents to hire seasonal temporary help in the Park and Recreational Department. And a certified copy of this resolution be given to the Finance Manager, Youth Director, Pool Insurance, and Clinton County Civil Service Department of Personnel for their final approval and filing.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Cashman, second.
Second?
Mr. Wood, any discussion?
Yeah, Bernie, based on discussions that you and I had prior to the meeting, I would offer that we take a look. There's a possibility, one of the people mentioned here is working at a rate higher than was set last year. We should, based on our policy with all of our employees, these seasonal people should also be working at last year's at hiring rate.
Was that a water safety instructor?
I believe it was the head lifeguard.
But I think you'll find, I'm not disagreeing with what you're asking for, I say go ahead and do that, but I think what you're gonna find is that she's moved up to the head lifeguard position, which qualifies for that increase.
When I called, when I talked to the department head, that's what I was told.
Okay.
The
so
reason
that's-
the reason that increase is because it's head lifeguard issue.
Head lifeguard position stayed at the same rate that it was.
Right. She told me that all of them.
Just the employee moved up into what is classified.
The only two that she said moved up were the head lifeguard position because they made the head lifeguard, this is what I was told.
Mhm.
And the lifeguard, if you look down in the middle there where it says water safety instructor, WSI, is two different things. The larger amount is when she's teaching, and that's only 3 hours a day,
Okay.
the max. So, because she's got her certification this year as a water safety instructor, she can teach. And that's why it's the 3 hours a day, and that's why that would be the more. And the rest of the time, as a lifeguard, she gets paid the lower
All right.
amount.
All right. Again, just as long as we're looking at 2013 rates, I don't have a
That's
problem.
exactly it.
That was
Thank you.
I will check on that. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Martin Manning,
Yes.
Michael Cashman.
Yes.
George Runseth.
Yes.
Bernie Dorchenez.
Yes, resolution carries. That's the end of the agenda for this evening, but I would ask for a motion to go into an executive session to discuss collective bargaining negotiations as part of 14 of civil service law.
Do we expect to take any action?
I don't expect it.
So moved.
Mr. Mannix, do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Cashman, any discussion on that? Roll call?
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Martin Manning,
Yes.
Michael Cashman.
Yes.
George Runseth.
Yes.
Bernie Dorchenez.
Yes, we will adjourn to an executive session, go into an executive session at 7:39.